From the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha, consider this with Cathy Wyatt, a program of issues and information behind today's news.
Right now, thousands of Heartland individuals are facing hunger and making unthinkable decisions every day.
We would be begging. And we would be hungry, trying to find some other way to make ends meet.
Inflation is so bad, and people can only get so much, and then they have to go without.
Grocery bills are mighty high. It's very hard. I broke down and cried. I had to wipe my eyes. I know what hungry pains feel like.
Hi everyone, I'm Cathy Wyatt. Welcome to the 29th season and this week's edition of Consider This. Our topic, food insecurity. Joining us to talk more about it are Teresa Mardesen, Executive Director of SHARE Omaha, and Stephanie Sullivan. Stephanie is the Assistant Director of Marketing and Communications for Food Bank for the Heartland. Thank you both so much for being here and welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
You bet. Teresa, I want to start with you. How do you explain food insecurity to people?
Sure. Food insecurity is when people or families don't know from where their next meal will come from. It usually includes making choices between necessities such as food, rent, or utilities, and usually includes skipping meals, less nutritious food intake, and less intake overall.
Wow. And Stephanie, we're going to put up a map for our viewers as we're doing that. Could you talk about the prevalence of this?
Yeah, right now across our country we are facing a hunger crisis. 47 million Americans and 13 million children, as Teresa said, don't know where their next meal is going to come from. We are seeing historic levels of food insecurity across the country. Every single community in every single county across America is experiencing food insecurity. This is not something anyone can escape. It's happening more frequently to kids in our classrooms, to senior citizens, to veterans, not just to low-income families, but to everyday Americans are struggling to make ends meet right now.
Thank you. We're going to put another graphic up for our viewers. And as we're doing that, Stephanie, tell us what causes food insecurity.
Yeah, this is a really complex answer because it's not just one thing that leads to food insecurity. It's a combination of economic and social factors that really make it challenging for people to put nutritious food on the table for themselves and for their families. Some of these predictors are economic related, such as low income, high cost of living, or maybe an emergency expense that they didn't see coming. Maybe somebody's in the hospital now and they can't cover those hospital bills. But it's not just money that can lead to food insecurity. For a lot of people, it's access, lack of transportation, or other barriers like food deserts. Health issues, social inequalities, and gaps within the social safety net are all reasons that lead to food insecurity.
Okay, and for all those reasons, we're going to put up yet another graphic. Talk about what can happen when folks are experiencing that. I mean, what are the effects?
Yeah, there are so many different effects to food insecurity. First and foremost, physical health, which includes malnutrition and obesity, because we know that the cheaper food is less healthy for us. And unfortunately, when a family is living paycheck to paycheck, the healthy food is cut from their budget, and they're going to go straight to that food that doesn't provide nutritional value. And we know it has long-term effects on one's mental health. The emotional distress of not knowing how you're going to feed your family, that fear, that uncertainty that so many people are feeling right now. And of course, this is especially damaging for children because their brains and their bodies are still developing. So when food insecurity happens to a child, we know studies have shown that it has long-term impacts on their social, their emotional, and their physical well-being. We know that it affects their performance, their academic performance in school, and that it can have long-term chronic effects on their health for years to come.
And when you're talking about people, obviously Nebraska is not immune. When we put up the map earlier, and we were even talking before the recording that those stats aren't quite accurate, Stephanie. So when we look at Nebraska and we say, well, we're about average, or maybe now you were saying we're not, what does that really mean, though, for us?
Yeah, Nebraska's average now is higher than the national average. Over the last 2 years, we've seen food insecurity rates surge by 50%. So right now, 14.5% of all Nebraskans are considered food insecure. That's 1 in 7 individuals and 1 in 5 children who don't know where their next meal is coming from. And according to Feeding America, hunger is increasing across every single county in Nebraska. And there are several reasons for why we're seeing higher food insecurity levels in Nebraska. Nebraska has a high rate of food deserts. So across the country, there's 44 counties that don't have access to a grocery store. 10 of those counties are located right here in Nebraska, which is a lot of people probably didn't realize. So when you take away access to healthy food, and we have rural neighbors who are living in these food deserts where they can't access healthy food, it's one of the main predictors for food insecurity.
Wow. Okay, so there was a program, called SNAP.
Yeah.
Stephanie, for viewers, can you just kind of define that for us a bit and talk about its importance?
Absolutely. SNAP stands for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. This is a federal program in the United States, and it provides food assistance to low-income neighbors and individuals, and of course families. So this was formerly known as food stamps, but it helps eligible households get access to the food they need. That money actually goes on an EBT card, and they're able to use those funds each month at grocery stores and at farmers markets as well. So SNAP is the most effective tool we have in our arsenal to reducing food insecurity. However, when SNAP is disrupted, like it was in October and November, that has a ripple effect on families and individuals trying to feed their families. And not only does it affect our communities, but it affects our pantry system, who was already overburdened before the government shutdown happened. So we are going to see the ripple effect of the disruptions to SNAP for months to come.
Okay, talk a little bit about, for those people who, pre-October, right, what was going on with the program, and then what caused the program to do what it's doing now, and that is pretty much going away. I mean, tell us, kind of walk us through that timeline, Stephanie, of how we got here.
Yeah, as I said, we were already seeing historic levels of food insecurity in our area before this government shutdown, before there was any disruptions to SNAP. So we know now what's happening is just increased fear in the uncertainty of what is going to happen. We know that there are more families in need. We're hearing from our pantry partners that they are seeing numbers they've never seen before after this government shutdown. And so in the weeks and the months ahead, especially as we head into the holiday season, we're expecting food insecurity levels to increase even more than we're already seeing, because a lot of people may think that just because the government has reopened, the problem is solved, and that couldn't be further from the truth, because these families and individuals who have received SNAP benefits, who then didn't receive their benefits in November, had to figure out how they were going to feed their families. They had to overcome challenges and make unthinkable decisions, such as going to the grocery store to buy food, or paying their utility bill, paying their rent, or other necessities. SNAP is a vital and temporary lifeline for millions of Americans and more than 150,000 Nebraskans. So we expect to see the ripple effect of these SNAP disruptions for months to come.
Wow. I want you to tell us now about the food bank for Nebraska.
Yeah. Food Bank for the Heartland serves 93 counties across Nebraska and western Iowa. We actually have the second largest service area across Feeding America's network of 200 food banks. So we have extremely vast service area, and we work with more than 500 network partners. So that includes your brick and mortar pantries, mobile pantries, emergency shelters, churches, schools. We get the food into our warehouse, and then it is distributed to more than 500 partners, and they are the ones on the front lines feeding our neighbors in need and being that lifeline for them.
Okay, talk about these last few months in particular. You said the problem obviously has been around for quite some time and just getting worse. What are you guys doing? I mean, how is your day-to-day operation going? I mean, how are you functioning? What is it taking for you to get through to help people?
Yeah. To say challenging would be an understatement. As we all know, information is changing all the time. It's constantly evolving. It's very challenging to keep up with, but our mission remains the same. We are doing everything we can to ensure consistent access to healthy food through community partnerships. And we are leveraging our contacts at Feeding America. We are working with corporate partners, retailers, processors, manufacturers. We're working with our donors. We are doing everything we can and looking at every possible angle to ensure that we can source more food into our warehouse so our neighbors in need can have more food. We are increasing our protein purchases because protein is the most needed thing at all of our pantry partners, right? Because it is a valuable and vital part of an everyday meal, and it is the first thing cut from someone's budget. Not just protein, but produce and dairy as well. So we are increasing those purchases at the food bank so we can ensure that our neighbors have healthy food to rely on. We're also partnering just locally. We're working with the mayor's office on a citywide food drive, and the outpouring of community response that we have seen over these last several weeks has been incredible. It's been humbling, and we are so grateful to live in the space that we do because we live in such a philanthropic part of the country. But we also know that there's no amount of philanthropic dollars that can make up for the loss of SNAP meals. And so right now, more than ever, we need that community support to continue.
I want to ask you, we are very fortunate in the area where we are living. What are they doing further out? And are you working alongside those folks as well? I mean, I would imagine you have a reach, right? And then beyond that reach, somebody else kind of maybe takes over. But what's happening across the entire state, and how is it that you are all working together?
Yeah, that's a great question. Because of our vast service area, because we serve 93 counties, we're located in Omaha, but that doesn't mean things are happening right here in Omaha. We are working with retailers and partners across our 93 counties. We're making sure that we're connecting retailers and network partners, maybe in Scottsbluff or in Western Iowa, to ensure that they can get access to the food that they need, and so we can make our mission even more efficient than it is. We have a wonderful program called the Retail Rescue Program that we are currently expanding, and that connects our network partners directly with retailers, so they can go to maybe a Walmart in Western Nebraska and they can get food that their community specifically needs for their pantry. And so we're always looking at ways to make our mission more efficient, to leverage community partnerships that have already been built across our 93 county service area, and to really innovate and find new strategies for sourcing more food so that our neighbors have what they need to thrive.
Okay, and one of your partners is sitting right next to you. Hey, welcome back, Teresa. Tell us about SHARE Omaha, would you?
Sure. SHARE Omaha is a place to go. ShareOmaha.org is a place to go to find out what volunteer needs are in the community, what donation needs are, what certain amount of dollars can do, or shopping wish list items, the tangible things that nonprofits or like Food Bank for the Heartland need. And then we also share fundraising events of our nonprofits. So it's a place for the community to go to learn, to find out where they can volunteer, where they can make a donation. They can learn about hunger cause areas, including housing, etc. Maybe learn about nonprofits that they are in that cause area that they may not have heard of. For example, in the hunger area, there's a lot of food pantries. So those are part of ShareOmaha.org as well.
Okay, and we're going to talk more about volunteerism, but I want to go back, Stephanie, to something that you said. Because I know we have viewers who are saying, I want to help, and there are obviously many different ways that they can help. I know sometimes when you're talking with people about donating to a food bank, it's like, now what can I donate again, and what can't I donate? What's going to be helpful? What's not going to be helpful? You had mentioned protein, number one. Give us some examples of what you see in the pantry that can be beneficial to the people you're serving.
Absolutely. We know that protein is an essential item for our neighbors in need. We ask when people are making donations to donate non-perishable items. So canned protein is really important. Canned tuna, canned chicken, also peanut butter. We are looking for help in getting those everyday staple ingredients to help neighbors put together a meal, right? So when neighbors go to some of our brick and mortar pantries or our mobile pantries, they can get access to produce, they can get access to some dairy products, but it's really those non-perishable items that we're asking for the community to donate, because that helps people stock their pantry and put together an easy and quick meal. So things like box meals, microwavable macaroni and cheese is great right now. Oatmeal, applesauce, things that people can easily put together without having maybe a lot of other ingredients on hand, because right now we're seeing so many people cut out those key ingredients from their budget.
I want you to walk us through, Stephanie, if you can think of a family right now that you have recently helped. Walk us kind of from start, because I think even though this eventually impacts, obviously, everybody, the people who are really needing it right now, paint a picture of what happens. They come into you and they say, oh my gosh, this is what we're feeling and this is what we're needing. And walk us through what that process involves. Yeah,
we actually just went out and visited with some of our pantry partners last week, and I met a woman who has a 6-year-old and a 12-year-old boy. They eat a lot, and she was on SNAP benefits, and obviously her SNAP benefits were disrupted. And she typically uses her SNAP benefits just to get protein for her family because her family eats so much meat. And she wasn't able to do that this month. She said they had a small supply of food in their freezer, but they were getting down to almost nothing. And she said how extremely tough it's been, because now she had to visit a pantry and get help that she needed. And she was so grateful that she had her community pantry, that she could access it, right? That it was easy for her and her family to get to. But she said to me, I don't want to use the pantries. I know other people need this help. And that's what we've seen time and time again, that there's a bit of a pride involved in that. And a lot of people are either too prideful to get help, they don't want to admit they need it. We live in a society that thrives on independence, or they think they don't want to take from someone else who may need it more. I've seen that time and time again, where people know that they need the food, but they don't want to take as much as they might need because it might take away from someone else. And that speaks to the generosity of the Heartland. But families are having to make unthinkable decisions. I know parents who are going to bed without food so their children can eat and have the food they need. No one should have to make that decision and have to decide whether or not they put food on the table or they pay rent. And politics should not play a role in whether or not someone eats. So these are all unthinkable decisions that no one should have to make right now. And unfortunately, 1 in 7 individuals are making that decision right now here in Nebraska.
Stephanie, tell us a little bit about, I think we've all been into a grocery store, many of us have been into a grocery store lately, where you can actually purchase a bag with food. Where did those come from? And where does it go? I mean, so we go and we buy one of those, we give it to the store, and then they do what?
Then they donate it to the food bank. Yeah. And that is an incredible example of how we are partnering with retailers. And we are seeing such innovative ways for people coming up with how to help. I've had food trucks reach out saying they want to serve the community. I've had restaurants reach out saying we want to have people donate canned items and donate that back to the food bank. The generosity in our community has been overwhelming and humbling, and it has kept us going, to be honest. It is when you're in these unpredictable times and when we're in it every single day, living out our mission and doing the best we can, seeing the overwhelming support of our community has just really inspired all of us.
Yeah, Teresa, I can't even imagine a day in your life in terms of, all these partners with whom you're working, and so many of them needing something from your organization so that you can reach out to the community to get something from them, and everybody's kind of working together. Talk about that collaborative piece, especially in this day and age when people are feeling isolated and they're kind of feeling down. It's just not been an easy go here, and you're working in a place that is truly making a difference, not just for Stephanie and the people with whom she works, but for whom they're doing the work. Yeah?
Yeah, it's wonderful because we see the collaboration, and then we also know where the potential ways to collaborate are happening, because we see the wheel and spoke of, okay, food insecurity, but then how does that impact housing? Okay, then and believe me, the nonprofits in this area in Nebraska are working together and collaborating, because it's, if we can't offer this, but okay, we know this pantry can, or this location needs this. There's a lot of collaboration happening, not just hunger, but the things that impact hunger or are effects of hunger. And very collaborative, very communicative. We're always building awareness with each other within the nonprofit space. And the community does a great job of that as well. The community wants to help, and they are our collaborators as well. So,
well, let's talk a little bit about, so we've talked donations, people of food, how they can get that food to the people who are needing it. But let's talk about this whole idea of volunteering, because in just what I've been reading, you need them, and they would make such a huge difference in this particular realm. They make a big difference everywhere. But for what we're talking about today, so give us some stats and some for examples here.
You bet. So volunteering, there's, those who can use ways to either give dollars or time. And giving dollars can mean even $5, $10, $25 a month. So it's a great idea to start a monthly donation for a food pantry near you. But also, to your point, volunteering is amazing. Don't underestimate the value of a volunteer. Even just one volunteer hour is $34.79. So when you volunteer, you are making a contribution to that food pantry or food bank for the Heartland, whoever you are helping, because they can better use their resources because they have help. There is such value in volunteering. So we encourage folks, go to shareomaha.org/SNAP, best way to see the most recent needs for volunteering. And there are, the network of food pantries across the 93 counties in Nebraska. Food Bank for the Heartland serves those. The distribution channels are set up. It's all there. So grab friends or family and volunteer. And we love emphasizing even just 1 hour, the value of that 1 hour. It is also important to note that every the stats, 1 out of every 2 volunteer needs goes unfilled. So we certainly encourage, yes, grab family and friends, and let's help close that volunteer gap. It keeps the nonprofits focused on their mission, because the volunteers are there to help. It's a beautiful thing. You really are making a difference by volunteering and helping those, getting our numbers better for people and these families in need.
Stephanie, in the minutes we have remaining, when you talk about that volunteer, who's the ideal person and how are you putting them to work, right?
Yeah, we will take anyone over the age of 10. We make it really, really easy for people when they come in. We have people of all ages in our volunteer center, and it is wonderful. Volunteers are the backbone of our mission. We could not fulfill our mission without them. Teresa mentioned the value, and in fiscal year 2025, the amount of volunteers we had equated to more than 26 full-time employees. We could not do it without them. And so when you come into the food bank, we promise we will make the volunteer process easy and welcoming. A lot of our volunteers are sorting that donated food that's coming in right now due to the response of the government shutdown. So all the donated food that comes in has to be sorted and repacked. And our volunteers are very excited to do this job, because then when our network partners receive it, they can just put it on their shelves. They don't need to have extra volunteers, because usually they don't, so it saves them time. They're also working on our backpack program items that are sent directly to schools. It's weekend meals that kids can have so that when they get back to school on Monday, they're ready to thrive. And then they also help pack our our community boxes for our mobile pantry program. So there's a lot of different programs that they'll be a part of. It's easy and fun, and it'll fly by.
Okay, thank you. Teresa, if we do not turn a corner here and we don't get some relief soon, talk with viewers who are fortunate enough not to have to be going through this in terms of the potential effects overall to the state.
Sure. For the state of Nebraska, and Stephanie went through a lot of great information with the numbers, we do still know that even still we can expect a 10 to 15% increase in food need before the beginning of 2026. So that means, you know, the need is still there, and you know it will continue. Let's sustain the help, so to speak. You know, if you know, it really is important that we do help serve this need, because that concern of people still having to decide between food and paying the rent. What that does is increase the risk to Nebraska's unhoused families, increasing in the coming months. So there's still a lot of need, and you know, ways to impact the ripple effect in a positive way. Also, you know, Stephanie went through the volunteering, and when you volunteer, you're helping that food pantry as well. There has been such an increase in recent months of need for food and food pantries, which has created such a strain on resources for staff and volunteers at, you know, food banks and food pantries. What that strain does is additionally indirectly impacts housing issues and puts risk on housing, because it takes resources away from things like, you know, emergency rental assistance and things like that. So there's win-win-wins everywhere when the community comes together to volunteer, donation, learn what the needs are, and just getting more people involved.
Talking about food insecurity today with Teresa Mardesen and Stephanie Sullivan. Folks wanting more information, we're going to put up a graphic, and these are your websites and your phone numbers. ShareOmaha.org/SNAP 402-502-0360, and Food Bank for the Heartland. That's just foodbankheartland.org, 402-331-1213. Ladies, I want to thank you so much for being here, sharing your time and expertise, and for all the phenomenal things you are doing with and for this community. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
thanks to our students who are working so hard behind the scenes, and of course, to all of you for watching. We will see you next week.
Consider This is an issues and information program produced by UNO Television in the School of Communication. More information and program archives can be found at nebraskapublicmedia.org/considerthis. If you'd like to share your comments about this program, call the UNO School of Communication at 402-554-2600 during regular business hours, or send an email to cwyatt@unomaha.edu.